Hello my friends, welcome to the Ground Noise and this beginner-friendly mixing tutorial. Perhaps the only mixing tutorial you will ever need. Because we keep it really simple here, and believe it or not, the basic principle of mixing always stays the same, no matter if you're mixing with 6 tracks, 16 or 60. A few days ago I've made this short backing track for one of my guitar tutorials, because I thought it's more fun to have a rocking playback going on instead of just playing guitar to a metronome click. In case you have already seen this guitar tutorial I'm talking about, thank you very much for watching. And in case you haven't seen it yet, well, this is everything we are talking about today, but we have still a lot of things to cover. This was actually the first project I've made after upgrading to Cubase 13, and I was really going wild and just opened one of the pre-made templates in Cubase. You can do that with new projects or when you start Cubase and go to production in the Cubase Pro Hub. And I decided for the rock production template, because I just wanted to know if you can work with these templates to create like little demos or backing tracks. And yes, you can totally work with it. I didn't even change the drum part that was already there. Just added a little drum fill in the beginning to get the song started. But I think it sounds good enough. I'm just decided for a very simple sound. This is this plugin. I had never used this plugin before. Just it came with the template here, you know. And the main idea was to really get the playback done in no time, in very little time. I just worked like for 20 minutes on this playback, and you only can do that with the right mindset, that you don't take yourself too seriously. Not every one of your music pieces has to become the best song in the world. But still, the main problem here is that I don't have much control over the drums, but it's pretty well done. The only thing I didn't like so much was the bass drum. I like my bass drum to have more punch, like more attack, like the high click sound, you know? When the beater hits the head, this sound on a bass drum. Many people don't know that a bass drum makes such a sound, but it's there, and it makes a bass drum sound more heavy. The bass drum itself is good enough, it's good, it's well done, but I want to show you a plugin that's very interesting, the envelope shaper in Cubase here. So I recommend to try it out whenever you need more attack on a drum sound, on a bass sound, whatever. You can do it with the envelope shaper here, and I did it with the drum sound. It not only affects the bass drum sound, of course, also the other drum instruments, because I really can separate the drum sounds here with this instrument I'm using. But it works well. I've just added 3 dB. That's not much. 3 dB is enough. You can hear there is a little bit more attack, a little bit more click in the bass drum. A very subtle change in this case, but it works well and I'm happy. So let's continue with the bass sound. Let's look into the bass sound. A very dry and simple MIDI bass sound. It's exactly electric bass in this sonic selection instrument. And you can see that I changed the cutoff and resonance to my liking. But again, it sounds very, very basic, a little bit weak, let me tell it like this. And there are, of course, some options. I think they already had the tube plugin on this sound, and it just adds a tube character to a sound. More distortion. Okay, and every bass player loves chorus effects, me as well. That's without the chorus. I'm sure you know what a chorus does to a sound. You can hear it. It's a bit wider, a bit warmer, but also sounds still a little bit synthetic. But here's a very interesting fact and very important fact. One of the first lessons I've learned when I was in a professional studio for the very first time back in the mid-80s or something with my band back then. We learned very quickly that it isn't that important how an instrument sounds when you play it alone. It's much more important, and the whole point of making a record or something, how it sounds together with all the other instruments. And this idea is the essence of mixing in my opinion, okay? It's the essential mindset you need for mixing. I'll give you another example, like you're the guitar player in a band and you're a bit too early in the rehearsal room. What do? Of course, you crank up your amp, you play guitar, you add some effects and treble and whatnot, and you come up with a really cool guitar sound that's fat and beefy and everything you need. But once the other guys joined and you're playing together with the band, you still need to make some readjustments to the sound, because suddenly it doesn't sound that good as before. And you want to find that sweet spot that pleases you as a player, so that you feel really great, and even more important, that the whole band sounds really great. And you should have this idea in mind when you're mixing, and every time you're adding some effects and changing equalizers or whatever, you're always doing that to find the sweet spot to make that instrument sound really good in a way that it makes the whole song sound good. Does that make sense? With this idea in mind, let's check out the bass sound, or very simple bass sound here again. I think it sounds way better in this case together with all the other instruments, and that's the whole point. Another very interesting point is that I've grouped drums and bass together in a rhythm section group here, just to listen to the drums and bass with one click. It's a new feature in Cubase 13 that you can do that with MIDI tracks. I've talked about it in my Cubase 13 honest review. In this project, it's not really important, but I just wanted to try it out, and it's a great feature. And I did the same with this group here, the Rhythm 2 group. Let's listen to it. It's an organ sound and a rhythm guitar. The main thing I did here was to push the organ sound a little bit to the right and the rhythm guitar to the left to fill up the sides of the stereo image. And I really recommend to do such things with like rhythm parts, like rhythm instruments and percussion maybe. Always keep in mind that in the center of the mix there's much going on, okay? Everything is, even these instruments, the rhythm guitar is still somewhere in the center. You can see it in the meters. You know, it's not totally on the left side, it's still there in the center. But wait, I have such a great keyboard sound, it's already stereo, and it's a waste when I put it on the right channel and all the stereo effects are getting lost. Yeah, remember, just ask the question, what's more important in this case? It's how this keyboard sounds when it plays alone, or how it sounds in the mix. And there are also options. If you're really unlucky, well, change the keyboard sound so that you don't think it's a waste and make a new mix where the keyboard sound is more present, and that's the intention of the mix. Because this little project here is more a guitar-based track. And if that's still not working for you, well, write a new song based on that super special keyboard sound. And also remember, no keyboards, no problems. But now let's finally look at the main thing in this project. It's the guitar part. So far we just cared about the rhythm section and the rhythm 2 section, whatever. But the main thing in this little track here is the guitar riff. And for this I decided to double the guitar. Let's listen to the guitar. And it sounds really wide. This is a technique that is super important. It's basically the whole project you see here, as little as it is, it's basically every Joe Satriani record or classic rock production, you know. And the trick here is that you play exactly the same part twice. Don't play it once and copy that part onto the right side, so the other side. I can show you here. This is totally on the left side, this part, and the other part is the same part. It's the same playing, but not just a copy, it's a new recording, and it's totally on the right side, and together we get this wide sound. It's a bit quiet here because I use this as a playback, and in my tutorial I play the same riff again, but in the middle in the video so that it's more audible. We can crank the guitar up like -1 or something. This is a technique. You turn it down and bring it up, most preferably without watching what you're doing, okay? Just listen to it and decide when the guitars are loud enough. Yeah, -1, -2. Okay, I get it. This last part with the double guitar is a bit difficult to understand for beginners. Okay, when you're new to mixing and new to guitar production, it's really a confusing thing. Many people get confused about it quite a lot. But basically, every time you read in an interview or something that the guitar player doubled the guitar, it basically means this technique. You play the same part as close as you can twice. And then you put the first recording on the left channel and the second recording on the right channel to create this wide and massive sounding guitar part. Although there are many other recording techniques that could be called doubling something. And I think it's a better idea to talk about all of that in another video. Please remember me in the comments because I have a long list of projects for this channel. But just one last advice, if you want to make your guitars, it also works with acoustic, with all guitars, okay? If you want to make them sound wide and present, do it like this here. And this is also an advantage because you have now much space in the center of the mix. Much space for the lead guitar solo melodies, like Joe Satriani does it all the time. And of course, the vocals have a lot of space. So if you're writing songs like a singer-songwriter and pop producer, whatever, you want to have much space in the center. And that's really my absolutely last advice whenever you're working with a singer. The singer comes first before of everybody. You can be a very good guitar player and have your ego, but forget about your ego, okay? It's the singer and the singer. And after that, if you listen to the modern pop music in the charts or whatever, after the singer, there comes Long Time Nothing, and then comes the drum production, and Long Time Nothing, a little bit of bass, keyboard, no guitars. Forget about the guitars in pop music. It's over, it's out, you're done. So I've made the most important thing, in this case, the guitar, wide and present. Added some extra parts to fill up the sides. And everything's based on a solid, punchy drum and bass rhythm section. Then I've sorted everything nicely into groups, which makes it way easier to mix. And I also wanted to keep it really simple and straightforward, so I avoided any fancy plugins. Just a few, just to make the bass sound better and also give the drums more attack. And I've also told you about the very interesting difference between soloing an instrument and hearing it in the mix. So I hope you enjoyed this little mixing tutorial. I thank you very much for watching. Please don't forget to leave a like before you go, okay, to support me and the channel. My name, by the way, is Marcus. You've been watching The Ground Noise, and I hope to see you soon in the next video.